Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope you're all having a great day. Well, I missed it again. Each year I intend to do the mermaid challenge and each year I forget about it until we're part through the month of May. At this point, I'll maybe draw one mermaid, but not this year. I still forgot about it until about a week and a half ago, and I decided that I would just do all 31 days worth of prompts in 3 days. Do you think I'm gonna make it? For those of you who don't know what mermay is, it is a daily challenge where you draw one mermaid according to the prompt given. It is, according to their website, a celebration of creativity, community, and above all, mermaids. To find the prompt list, scroll to the top and click on the 3 bars. Scroll down to prompts and it'll automatically take you down to the prompt list. Each day has a different word and you draw a mermaid according to the word for that day. So let's get started! Whenever I take on an ambitious project like this, I get really anxious and nervous for it, and so the first one usually doesn't go according to plan, but I kind of expected that with this project, that I wouldn't like every mermaid I drew, and sure enough, first one out of the sketchbook, I didn't like it very much, but I at least made it identifiable. The word for this mermaid was worker, and all I could think of was a construction worker, so I at least made it identifiable as a construction worker with yellow and a shiny vest. Since I didn't like my first mermaid very well, I really wanted to do a good job on this second one. The word was siren, and so I drew kind of what came to mind. When I think of siren, I always think of something maybe a little bit sexy and seductive. And so this is what I came up with. Let me know what you think. Did I nail this word? I actually ended up being really happy with the way this one turned out. So I went ahead and lined it. Then I also decided that I wanted to color it. What do you think of this color combination? Normally with challenges like this, I have a hard time coming up with an idea of what to draw. I've tried to do Inktober several times, which is a similar challenge, and I usually end up dropping out probably around halfway through or maybe even sooner, just because sometimes my ideas don't come or I can't come up with an idea that I'm proud of. And so on this one, since I did it in 3 days, I didn't have time to overthink it, and so I just drew, for the most part, the first thing that came to my mind, which really helped with artist block. My favorite ones on this spread is probably the siren number 1, but strangely enough, even though it's not the cutest, I also really love my pufferfish Ewok. I just like the idea of it. I think it's kind of fun. I also really like the relationship between this little girl mermaid and the seashells. The word for that one was symbiotic. Sometimes when you read one of the words for the prompts, you just know what you're gonna draw. And this was one of them for me. There were a few surprises as I was drawing it, but for the most part, I knew what I wanted to accomplish with this drawing. And out of all the drawings that I did for this challenge, this was by far one of my favorites. Like I always tell my students, sometimes you have drawings that just have an ugly stage, and they look better the longer you work on them. And then there's other drawings that just don't look good no matter what you do. There were some mermaids as I was drawing these, like these next couple, that I really wasn't necessarily very proud of, but I got the prompt done and that was my goal, was to finish all the prompts on the list. The word for this mermaid was cyberpunk, and I didn't exactly know what I was going to draw, and it actually ended up looking okay. I liked the concept, but not the way I positioned it, so I might draw this one again in the future. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of cozy? For me, cozy is snuggling up in a warm sweater and either reading a good book or drinking some hot chocolate. That is probably one of my favorite ways to be cozy, especially during the winter time. This is another one of the ones that was just absolutely my favorite, and when I saw this word it was on the list, I was so excited and I knew exactly what I wanted to draw. I have two dogs that are named Piper and Lucy, and they're opposite colors, and so with their coloring I thought of the yin-yang symbol, and I just knew that I had to draw them as fish in the yin-yang symbol. With the limited amount of time that I had to get these all done, I really wanted to finish some of them, but I wasn't able to finish all of them. If there's one that you would like to see finished, let me know. With all the mermaids that I had to draw for this challenge, I really came up with a system that worked well for myself, and this is kind of my process. I would draw my line of action of what I wanted the character to do, and then I would start building up some building blocks around that line of action, and then I would start going in and filling out the details. I really loved doing my process this way because I felt like following that line of action really showed the emotion of the character, and funny enough, the word for this character is actually emotional. At this point, I really thought I was starting to get down a rhythm by following this line of action and then doing the building blocks on top of that. And just when you think you've got it down, you find that life has a turn for you. Because with this next mermaid that I was drawing, I worked on it and I worked on it. I kind of knew what position I wanted her to be in, and I just could not figure out the body mechanics for it. I wanted her shoulder to come forward with her hand on her hip to show some sassy attitude, but I just couldn't get the proportions right and to make it work, so I ended up going with a slightly different position with her arms that still conveyed that sassy attitude. This word was octopus, and I really wanted her tentacles to kind of portray like this really fancy kind of evening gown feel, so I made her tentacles kind of flare out at the bottom. This was probably one of my favorite spreads. Not necessarily because I liked all the drawings, but I liked the idea behind each one. This one that I'm working on was called Peace, and then I also had one that was Virtual Reality, which is the one in that top corner, and then this one that I'm currently working on is Warrior, and I really liked how this one turned out. And then the last one on this list was Social Butterflies. See if you can spot them. I really felt like I had this pattern down where I would draw 3 or 4 of them that I really didn't care for, and then I would draw one that I really liked that I'd end up inking. What do you guys do when you draw something that you're not very proud of or you're not particularly fond of to keep yourselves going? With this project, I just knew I had to get this project done, and so that's what really pushed me through. And I also knew that I could always retry again. I loved the word for this prompt. I bet you can guess what it is. We'll see at the end if you guessed it right. But I felt like there were so many possibilities, and it just conveys fantasy to me, which I absolutely love. This was such a fun project to work on. I'm so glad that I pushed through it. Now let's take a look at what I came up with. This video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Which ones are your favorite? And let me know which ones you would like to see finished in the future and if I should turn them into prints. This one turned out to be one of my favorites, so stay tuned till the end to see it finished. Did you find the social butterflies? Did you guess the word? It was potion. What would you draw if you were given that prompt?